dies, what is that all about? And because yeah, a lot of times, you know, you think, oh, it's a terrible thing, but then you don't realize that it was their decision to die, for one thing, not because they wanted to hurt your feelings, but because that was their lesson. So not only is it their decision to die and when, but it's your decision to be the parent of that person and learn the lessons that you have to learn from that situation. So it's not a tragedy like the world would put it. And he's saying, yes, mourn and, be human about it, but, don't blame yourself and don't think about, it could have been different because it couldn't. It
Never be
was a
different.
decision we already made.
Well, isn't it a lesson all that we're just love? Everything is love because it's
Yeah,
a lesson for love or a call for love. It's that
exactly.
simple.
That's it. Exactly. All right. So we're going to,
Thank
uh,
you, Liz. Dub, no, I can't get it from there. Please send it on my email.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I got to
No.
get this for a minute. Okay, I'll be right back.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the uh, sharing of our text and get ready because we're starting the psychotherapy pamphlet this week. Last week we read the introduction, and so this week we're actually reading the purpose and all about psychotherapy. So and a lot of who all was here last week? I know Rafi was here. I don't know, Laura, if you were here. I know Dove was here. There's only a few of us here last week, so it's maybe we should go back and read the introduction. It's only, I think, one paragraph. So why don't we do that? Yeah, it is. Because I think it gives us a good place to start. So who would like to read paragraph or actually the entire introduction, paragraph 1, introduction? Let me get my list of participants up. Dove would like to read that. Thank you, Dove.
I was saying hello to Vishnu, but that's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
You've got to watch it around here.
Uh, Psychotherapy is the only form of therapy there is. And that's because the next sentence is true. Since only the mind can be sick, only the mind can be healed. So, people who are thinking that this, go to the doctor and I'll be well. No, the doctor treats the body. I am not a body. We are mind. So psychotherapy deals with the mind. Only the mind is in need of healing. This does not appear to be the case. For the manifestations of this world seem very real indeed. Yeah. We're so invested in the way things are here. I mean, you got to be kidding me. There's like no way out until you start to withdraw your investments from what you think is real. What we think is real is unreal, and what we don't think is real is real. I mean, that's crazy, but that's what psychotherapy is for. Psychotherapy is necessary so that an individual can begin to question their reality. That's a good word. You know, look at me, I'm real. No, that's your ego. Sorry, Charlie. Sometimes he's able to start opening his mind without formal help, but even then, it's always some change in his perception of interpersonal relationships that enables him to do so. Yeah, he realizes that what he thought was true is not true, and he starts questioning, well, what is the truth? Sometimes he needs a more structured, extended relationship with, quote, an official therapist. Yeah, you need somebody who kind of sees where all the pitfalls is and recognizes that you can fall into those rabbit holes unless someone points them out before you fall in. Because once you fall in, you spend another couple of years trying to get yourself out. Either way, the task is the same. The patient must be helped to change his mind about, quote, the reality of illusions. And, as I say all that, what comes to mind is, you know, Rupert Sparrow talks about awareness, and the more you do this course, the more you realize that that's what, he doesn't use the word awareness here, but that's really what healing is. You become aware that you're the Christ. If I'm the Christ, why am I thinking that something bad's going to happen? That's impossible. You are eternal, period. You got to laugh. That's it.
Yeah, thank you, Dove, so much. This is just so interesting that he tells us you need something to help you question the reality. If you haven't already started questioning reality and thinking that, there's something going on here that isn't right, then this is what psychotherapy can start doing for you is giving you a chance to question what you think is happening, a chance to look at what you think is happening and imagine maybe it's not what's really happening. Maybe what I think is going on is, something else. And, some of us, I have all my whole life. This world has never made sense to me. I have never imagined in my entire life that what was happening here was real. But that's not because of any special thing about me. It's just that uh, it didn't make sense. It's never made any sense to me, and I could never imagine why my experience was so far apart from what I really desired and needed. That uh just none of this world made any sense to me and still doesn't. But now I know why, because it is an illusion. It is, but I always question the reality. And as soon as I was able, man, when I heard about you know well, alcohol, I drank alcohol when I was a young child all the time because it was in my house. My family drank it. If there was a beer sitting there and I was thirsty, I'd just pick it up and drink it. That's all us kids did. We, drank alcohol all the time. So, and that is not unusual and that is not outrageous. That's just, how some people live when you have an alcoholic family. I think that's how you get an alcoholic family. But so, I was always used to seeing things from a kind of different direction anyway. But man, as soon as I heard about marijuana, I wanted it. As soon as I heard about LSD, I really wanted it. I'm hearing, here's something that's gonna, show you something different about the reality of what's going on here, that you're gonna, see something that you can't see right now, something that's beyond what you can see right now. And I did. And, I mean, I would never tell anyone not to use anything that helped them, including psychotherapy. I couldn't afford psychotherapy, but, drugs were cheap. So, that's and I didn't think I needed psychotherapy because I thought it was the world that something was wrong with. And I always question my reality, but I don't know about I don't know about the rest of you. There has to have been a point sometime in your life when you said, this just cannot be happening. This could not be real. And I don't know if anybody has any thoughts about that, but um, yeah, Dub, go ahead.
Yeah. The thought that I can't afford uh, a therapist, but drugs are cheap. I had my complete spiritual awakening doing some mushrooms back in 1972. And I think it doesn't have to do with, whether it's drugs or a therapist. It has to do with your desire for truth. You have to have that. Uh, when you're sick and tired and you hit rock bottom and you just don't want this anymore, you want something new. You want the truth. Obviously, everything I've been doing has gotten me deeper and deeper into this rabbit hole until I hit bottom. So your desire to change that is what gives you that boost into the right ladder at the right time with the right teacher.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. Because you know, at the same time, I wasn't just out there doing drugs. I was meditating, going to, you know, joining meditation groups, you know, going and hanging out with Buddhists, you know, I doing all sorts of stuff. And you know, just because I knew there was something else. And I didn't, you know, I didn't know how to get to it, but I knew that, you know, people could get to it when I read about people getting to it. So there seemed to be a lot of folks that did make it through. So uh, anyway, anybody else have anything that they would like to share?
Yeah, hey, ladies, Vision. I wanted just to add to, with what you said, I totally concur. Actually, what was coming up for me was the word simulation. For example, when I was in North America, I would continuously see triple digits on license plates. I don't know if this has ever happened to anybody, but I don't know what the statistical probability of it happening. But for example, let's say it's like 4 letters and then 3 digits. Let's say in Canada, right? So let's say it's like ABCD and then 111, right? As an example. Now I would see in one day like all the digits, like 1111, 2222, 3333, blah blah blah. And to me, the chances of that happening is like statistically almost impossible. And I said, in what situation could that happen? It could only happen in a simulation. Do you know what I mean? Or a dream or an illusion or whatever you want to call it. And I've always felt that we're in some type of a illusion simulation. Just adding, or concurring with what you're saying. I've always felt the same thing. And obviously picking up the course and all the great teachers have always said that, whether it's a Buddha or Krishna, or they've always with Maya, Samsara, whatever you want to call it, right? So, but it's one thing to know that, okay, to know that we're in a simulation, okay. So then, now what? And I really, like what Dove said, that it's just remember you're the Christ, but it's just easy. It's just, I guess, it's just a repetitive. It's just the more you do it, the better you get at it, right? So I just wanted to agree with your illusion hypothesis. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. And same thing too. Have you ever, I mean, this happens to me all the time, has always happened to me since I was a kid listening to the radio. I would think of a song, I'd start humming a song and it would come on the radio. I mean, it was like, how? And I'd switch over to another channel and it would be the same song. How is it? Are they listening to me? Are they, I mean, there's so many things that you would say, that's just coincidence, but there's too many coincidences for it to be just coincidental. It's just not possible. Rafi, please go ahead. You're muted.
Because coincidental is two incidences corresponding. It doesn't really, doesn't mean what a lot of people think it means. But as far as being on the path, I was led to it by the nose. I mean, when you're ready for it, the things unfold and you just have to be aware of them. Miriam and I were in Florence. We went into this big cathedral. I was looking at the coffin of Leonardo da Vinci or somebody, and I see this little this room off to the side, and there are these little display things around, and there are all of these relics in it. And I came upon the cowl and girdle of St. Francis of Assisi, and I had a physical attack. I was crying. I couldn't breathe. Miriam got me out of there, and we went back the next day so I could show her what it was, and the same thing happened to me. Okay, something was talking to me. So we get back to Los Angeles. Because she was a famous documentary filmmaker, she gets a call from the Sedona method. saying we'd like you to maybe, consider making a film about our technique, about releasing. He says, well, I don't know anything about it. So they said, well, we have a couple of workshops in LA, there in Arizona. He was in LA. You'll come, you watch it, and then you'll see what it is. She says, you want to go? I said, yeah, I go, I get it right away. But it's in Arizona and it's a little difficult to keep up. Shortly after that, I get a telephone call from a guy. Again, I don't know how he got his number. I got my number, but he was one of Les Levinson's students, and he was starting the release technique here in LA and wanted to know if I wanted in. I said, of course. A few years later than that, I'm at a high school reunion, and I run into a guy we used to call Fish, and I tell him about the release technique, and he's telling me about this thing called A Course in Miracles. I said, well, that's great. And then he hands me his book and tells me about these meetings. And I said, okay, did I have anything to do with that? Somewhere along the line, I must have. But was I divinely led right where I was supposed to be? Damn right I was.
Woo!
That's lovely.
This guy I met in high school whose name is Fish. Wow.
Remember when we used to call you that?
That's true. That's true. That's true.
That's great. I love it. Yeah. See, so yeah, that's why, when the course, when I started getting the course, it just clicked all those things. It's like, yeah, this makes sense. This is why this happened this way. This is why this is, and I could see that there was, because it always seemed there was a path and a plan. Everything seemed to be working in a certain way. But, I always thought it was just, I didn't know what it was, but yeah, this is, yeah. And this is it, we've all decided, what this world presents to me is couldn't be possibly real. And so, we need a therapist. And, I guess Jesus is my therapist because until I found the course, I was, literally insane. And I have worked through, since I've been studying the course, I have worked through things that I think it would have taken years of actual therapy with another therapist to work through, come to, complete peace with so many things through the greatest therapy of all, which is the practice of forgiveness. So that's been what's helped me through everything. Yeah. So let's go take a look now at the purpose of psychotherapy. Who would like to read paragraph 1? All right, Laura, thank you.
Purpose of psychotherapy. Very simply, the purpose of psychotherapy is to remove the blocks to truth. Its aim is to aid the patient in abandoning his fixed delusional system and to begin to reconsider the spurious cause and effect relationships on which it rests. No one in this world escapes fear, but everyone can reconsider its causes and learn to evaluate them correctly. God has given everyone a teacher whose wisdom and help far exceed whatever contributions an earthly therapist can provide. Yet there are times and situations in which an earthly patient-therapist relationship becomes the means through which he offers his greater gifts to both. Yeah, a lot of people were recommending that I see a therapist, but I already know it's all in my mind. Thank you. That's $300. I'm ahead in the game by, knowing that it's all coming from my mind for starters. And Dove, I guess, go ahead.
No, I want you to complete it. Are you complete?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. I would say don't worry about the money, by the way, because money is always the ego's problems. Ego. Oh, I save some money. No, that's the ego. I'm going to put something up from this morning. I did Lori Coburn and I were on this morning at 8:30, and I always put up the lesson. Today's lesson, lesson 95, is I am one self united with my creator. I was really helped with Ken Wapner's commentary. I want to go through it for a few minutes just to show how I was helped. So, I am one self united with my creator. Ken Wapner could have talked about the Christ and we're one and united and accepting, the atonement. He didn't do that. This is his commentary. Jesus thus helps us to understand that doing the workbook imperfectly is an excellent classroom for learning to undo our guilt. Huh? What is that going to do with oneself united with my creator? Well, let's go on and find out. Indeed, the implication is that by doing the workbook imperfectly and then forgiving ourselves, we're actually doing the workbook perfectly and being perfect students. Wow. Let's see how the ego looks at things. Oh, I'm going to do it again because I didn't do it right the first time. So I got to tell you, what Ken Wapnick is saying here is that I am one self. I am the Christ self, and my Father and I are one. If he talked about it at that level, it would go in one ear and out the other because we don't understand that. I mean, the ego mind has no idea what one is. I mean, it lives in duality or two. It can't, it doesn't know what one is. I mean, Jesus, as Ken Wapnick says, Jesus was never good at math. He couldn't count past one. Now, today, at least 3 or 4 times, I caught myself. One time I was trying to save some money. I spent like a half hour trying to save like $2 on some coupon or something like that. And all of a sudden I remember what Ken said, and there's one other thing. I was listening to Ken Wapnick on death, and someone asked him about the illusion. He says, whatever you're invested in. And I realized that I'm invested in, quote, saving money. I'm invested in little small things. Talking about fish, Rafi, I realize that I do bottom fishing. Bottom fishing. Christ doesn't do bottom fishing. He doesn't have to save money. I'm just the ego. I'm the ego spends all day long trying to solve problems. That's what I wanted to share.
Thank you, Dove. Yeah, wow. And yeah, I think I
Yeah.
find those from Ken, the workbook lessons, his journey through the workbook is really helpful and really gives you a different way of looking at things. So, and Ken himself is a therapist and a very good therapist, as I could tell. So yeah, so this is the whole purpose is to aid us in abandoning our fixed delusional system and to question the cause of it, and question the cause and effect relationships on which it rests. And this is where we go through our life saying, well, I'm this way because, when I was a little kid, my, mother would leave me at home for long periods of time while she was out working. And, I just, was all alone and, I had to take care of myself. And, so that's why I'm, so whatever now is because I was abandoned or, we want to look for a cause to say why I am this way, why I think this way,
Mhm.
why I feel this way. There's no cause in the world that is why I am this way. Why I am this way is because I came into the world to be this person, to be this way. And just as my mother came into the world to be the person she was and have the experiences she had. And we're here for only one purpose, And that is to learn the lesson, whatever it is that we came here to learn, and overcome the guilt from it, repair, what we think we've broken. So uh, all the problems in the world that we assign to, things that happened to us when we were children, or, something that happened to us and we got post-traumatic stress. And, eventually, a Course in Miracles student and teacher would never even consider something like post-traumatic stress, because where's the trauma? But until we come to the place where we look at what seemed to be the trauma and recognize that nothing really happened, we're still going to think we need to be fixed. Something is broken. And I think that's what happened to me. I was able to look at the things that I thought were the cause of trauma and the things that the world told me were bad and wrong and should never happen to a child. The world told me that that was wrong and bad, and that if it happened to me, then there was something wrong. And, that's when I had to start asking the questions, who makes these rules? And who says this is good and that's bad? Who makes up that particular description of things that are really just happenings, just occurrences? We're the ones that assign it its value and say what, it's good or it's bad. And we do that. I mean, television, movies, books, things we see in the news, people in our town, people in our church, people, we see all these situations and we have all these judgments about all the circumstances in the situations, and we assign values to them and say this is good and this is bad. And then if it happens to me, then wow, I'm a victim. Wow, I'm traumatized. And now I can't even move, and I have to quit my job because I can't go in that place and look at that whatever anymore. Whatever it is. That's we've convinced ourselves that what we're experiencing has a value to it that is not what we came here to experience. But if we recognize that the only reason that we're experiencing these things is because we asked for them, then we would get over this delusional system, and we would stop assigning value of cause and a cause to, whatever it is that we see, and there would be no effect. And we would be free then. I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't know if anybody has anything to say about that, but
Yeah, Lynn, I love what you're saying. I what was coming up for me was that uh, the mind has to be prepared for uh, that insight that it who makes up the rules, like what, that this is good or bad, or or that it never really happened, because I remember when I first picked up the course, I was always like saying this to other people, yeah, it's just in your mind, and you're doing it to yourself, blah blah blah. And you know I'm sure we all went through that phase of that when you start. I don't know. I did anyway. When I was like so just enamored by the course, that I was like, oh, okay, I'm not crazy. Well, I'm crazy, but I'm not the I'm not the only one. The world's crazy too, right? So that, but that it. I think it's almost like when you're training or exercising or whatever we're doing in the world. It's like a gradual process of getting the mind ready to accept that, because it's almost like when Neo. I don't know if you remember in the Matrix, when Neo goes into the Matrix for the first time and he kind of vomits when he comes back. He's like, oh my god, I can't, like, it can't be, it can't be an illusion. Do you know what I mean? And so I think the course is helping us to prepare our mind for that realization that it's just a dream. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and that's, it's asking us to question our reality. It's telling us that, we're never upset for the reason we think. And it's telling us that we could see peace instead of what it is that we're seeing, and offers us a choice. And that is the greatest gift of all. So yeah, thank you, Vishnu. Anybody else have anything about this paragraph? Let's move on to paragraph 2. All right, who'd like to read paragraph 2?
I'll take it.
Thank you, Rafi.
What better purpose could any relationship have than to invite the Holy Spirit to enter into it and give it his own great gift of rejoicing? What higher goal could there be for anyone than to learn to call upon God and hear his answer? Bingo. And what more transcendent aim can there be than to recall the way, the truth, and the life, and to remember God? To help in this is the proper purpose of psychotherapy. Could anything be holier? For psychotherapy, correctly understood, teaches forgiveness and helps the patient to recognize and accept it. And in his healing is the therapist forgiven with him. And it's you can't do something for somebody else without doing it for yourself, because we are all one. And your greatest therapist is yourself. And yourself is the self.
Yeah, yeah, thank you, Rafi. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you wouldn't go to, like, you know, go look in your phone book, if you have a phone book, and find a psychotherapist and go to their office and say, will you help me remember that I'm one with God? And will you will you help me remember my holy purpose? Most psychotherapists would say, sorry, wrong number, because that's not how psychotherapy actually works. I don't think in the world. But there are some therapists who do study the course and who do think that way. But even then, they're not going to, you know, uh, give you anything that you haven't asked for, by telling you the world's not real, or, you don't really have a problem. But, so real psychotherapy, we start by asking the Holy Spirit to enter in. And what does it say? Not just enter into it, give it his own great gift of rejoicing. We were talking about that today, being wholly joyous and rejoicing. And isn't that our nature? Isn't that what we're supposed to be um living here? Isn't that what God made us for? So, you know, uh, working with a psychotherapist apparently is to come to a place where we can be wholly joyous and rejoice. I love that thought. Dove, please go ahead.
Laura's on first.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Dove.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that you guys, my fellow course people, are the best therapists for me, just talking to you guys, or reading the course itself, or like you said, Jesus, getting with Jesus. And I actually did hear him. I asked, give me something to help. I know all the lessons and all that. He goes, be vigilant only for God and his kingdom. I heard it clearly, and I said, so I've been using that one in case anybody wants to remember to use that one every once in a while, because it works good. Because part of being, in fear is you're vigilant for something, coming at you. Something's going to happen. It's this anticipation. That's the way it is that rolls here in my, neighborhood and state and country, even for that matter. So be vigilant only for God. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Yeah, that's perfect advice. And yeah, you guys are my therapist too. So this is like a therapy group here. Dove, please go ahead.
We are a culture, remember? We are cultivating holiness, forgiveness. Okay, so forgiveness happens to be the perfect word for what I'm about to share. Just as you said, not all therapists are therapists who have an idea of what the Course in Miracles is saying, but everyone finds the perfect therapist for them where they are. Do you know that, like Sharon always says, always meet someone where they are, right? Now, not everybody is ready to hear that I'm doing this to myself. That's for sure. I'm speaking in a realistic situation that happened in my first marriage, where my wife said she's going to go to a therapist, and I said, well, that sounds like a good idea, because I did want to save the marriage at the time. And so, I kind of checked in. She said, oh, she had a good session and all that. So I visited the person who was her therapist, and I kind of saw right up front that his way of working with the people is to always say the other person was at blame, at fault, and you didn't do anything. You're really okay. Just find somebody new. And that was really, and now later I found out that almost all of his clients were women clients who really thought that the husband had done something terrible. And by the way, I wasn't a great husband. I didn't say I was, but that's his way of looking at everything. You did nothing. Your husband is guilty and to blame. And that said, of course, I knew then that he couldn't be the one for me. He already picked sides, which is fine. So, but everyone finds the perfect therapist for them where they are, wherever they are. That's who they find. That's that synchronicity again. There's no accident that she found the perfect therapist for her.
That's pretty funny, Dove. I love that story. Rafi, go ahead. I have to real quick take a break. I'll be right back. But Rafi, please go ahead.
Okay, I just want to say the perfect therapist could be a bus driver, could be the person who's behind the checkout counter at the supermarket, who you're married to, your children, your pets, your neighbors, the people you work with, people that you meet on vacation. Everybody is your perfect therapist because they're all mirrors to you. And if you read it right, then they're all serving you perfectly, just as you are serving them, or I am serving them. The simpler you make it, the more powerful it becomes.
Yes, Rafi. Yes, that's so true. I mean, I'm down to everything happens perfectly. No excuses are ever necessary. It's always perfect.
And the ego mind is inundating you with reasons, excuses, rationalizations, justifications, and none of that stuff is real. It's just all the stuff that comes out of the mind. If you stand back and look at it and watch it instead of getting caught up in it, then it can't involve you, and you can stay at peace and be happy and loving.
The ego's three biggest words is shoulda, coulda, and woulda. Yeah, you should have married someone else. You married the wrong person. That's all.
What'd you take this road for? You should have taken the freeway. You should have. You should have eaten that. You should have eaten this. Yeah, we know. We know. I could have done that. Yeah. Blame, 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 blame. We have a great thing in a release technique. Could you let go of disapproving of yourself? Could you let go of disapproving of yourself some more? Could you let go of disapproving of yourself? Could you just forgive yourself and forgive your mind for what it's doing? And then just give yourself love and approval. And that is very curative.
Very good. Excellent.
Yeah, that's beautiful too. That whole idea of, because we don't learn to love ourselves. You know, we learn to suspect ourselves or think ourselves to be less than good or whatever. And so I love that idea. Um, so anybody else on
Mhm.
paragraph 2 before we
Well, I just wanted to add to what you just said, Lynn. Actually, Dove sent me this image, or this it was like one of those quotation things a while ago, and it said it's not about loving yourself; it's about being love itself, and that made a huge, for whatever reason at that time. I guess it was just the right time, like we've all been saying, everything. We live in a world of synchronicity, but it what it said to me, because I started reading this book years ago called Heal Your Life, which was very impactful as well. It was very useful, very applicable to me at the time. And the core theme of that book by Louis Hay was, love yourself, love and improve yourself, and which, to what Rafi was saying, it's a core kind of part of this healing process. But the idea of shifting from this ego loving my little self, kind of, that shifting to being love itself, was shifting away from the ego and just being that which we are, which is love itself. And that made a huge perception shift for me. It was really, really helpful. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Thanks.
That's lovely, right? It's such a wonderful shift to make, and I think that probably as you go through the world, it probably helps you move through many situations, and sort of I just see us out there being like a beacon. Dove, please go ahead.
I want to add to something to what Vishnu is saying. Some time ago, I remember Vishnu asked me a question. What does it mean by your real creations? I think that was you, Vishnu, that asked that question.
You're right.
What does it mean by your real creations? Believe it or not, this morning, not the one that Lynn played, but this morning, the one that Prudence was playing, someone asked Ken the exact same thing. What does it mean by your real creations? And his first answer was, how the hell would I know? That was Ken's first answer. He said, well, all right, he says, well, let's look at it. He said, okay, your real creations, and it really gets down to exactly what you just said, Vishnu. Be the love that you are. Your real creations are what you are in heaven. In heaven, you are a co-creator. What do you do in heaven? You extend the peace, you extend the light, you extend the love. That's be the love. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, I remember in a meeting not long ago with another group, that someone came in and said, I just don't know. I don't love myself. I don't know how to love myself. How can I learn to love myself? And people were given a lot of interesting, answers to that. But my answer to that was love someone else. If that's what happens. You only receive it if you give it. So, and it doesn't mean that they love you back. It means you give love and you receive love. You become love. You remember that you're love. And it doesn't, it's like seeing the Christ in another person. How can I see the Christ in myself? I see it in another person. I see them as the Holy One. And when I see holiness, I recognize my own holiness. It becomes very clear to me that I'm holy. So that's why it's important. It's not, we don't do this in a vacuum. We're given an opportunity to join with our brothers and to remember our wholeness. And so that's my answer to everything. Just be the love. And that's an easy thing to say. It's an easy thing to do. Just be the love in any situation, no matter what it is. Just remember, I'm love. This is what love, what does love do? What would love say? How would love react? What would love think? What would love do in this situation? How would love look at this situation? And if that's all you do is look through the eyes of love at everything, it shifts everything. And then you feel the love of God within you, like lesson 189 says. You actually feel it because you are it. You're sharing it in, what you give away is what you receive always. So beautiful. So who'd like to read paragraph 3? This is good. Really hope we get through more of this tonight. So paragraph 3, anybody want to read? All right, Laura, I'll let you read again.
Everyone who needs help, regardless of the form of his distress, is attacking himself, and his peace of mind is suffering in consequence. These tendencies are often described as self-destructive, and the patient often regards them in that way himself. What he does not realize and needs to learn is that this self, which can attack and be attacked as well, is a concept he made up. Further, he cherishes it, defends it, and sometimes even willing to sacrifice his life on its behalf. For he regards it as himself. This self he sees as being acted on, reacting to external forces as they demand, and helpless amidst the power of the world. And this brings to mind, I do this to myself. I bring this on myself. That notice the small s self we're talking about in this paragraph, which can attack and be attacked as well, which isn't, our attack thoughts or attacking our invulnerability. That's another one that comes to mind. So, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Laura. I'd like to add that one sentence in the middle. I think what is it? It's sentence number 3. What he does not realize and needs to learn is that this quote little self, quote unquote, which can attack and be attacked as well. In other words, I need some help. I'm afraid. I'm being taken advantage of, is a concept that he made up. It's not who we are. We are the Christ dreaming that we're in exile alone and we have to fend for ourselves. So we make up this test crash dummy called Dove, who has to go in there and fight battles, to win. I want to be right. I want to remember the truth. There's no truth in thinking that this is you. The only truth is recognizing that you made this little small self, and you're willing to not be that little small self anymore. You're willing to say, this is not who I am. I am not a body. I am free. I am still as God created me. The lesson that's used 23 times in the course.
Amen.
Yeah, thank you, Dove. Thank you, Laura. Yeah, and if you don't think yourself as a concept, if you don't think that you're a concept, just sit down with a pencil and paper and start writing. I am, and write all the things you am. I am a woman. I am a mother. I am a, I mean, you can go for on and on and on and on. I'm an adult, I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm this, I'm on and on and on and on and on and on and on with all sorts of things that you are. But every single one of those things is a concept. It's not what you are at all. And that's what he's talking about. This concept of what I think I am, gives me the qualities that I think I have. And the experiences that I think I'm having because of the qualities of the concept and absolutely have nothing to do with me. Rafi, please go ahead. Oh, Rafi has disappeared, but he'll be back. Okay, go ahead,
Well,
Rafi.
You said what I was going to say. I mean, I was going to give an example of how this happened to me like 3 or 4 days ago. Coming out of my subconscious mind said, I can't be powerful because mind doesn't know the truth of infinite being. It only knows itself as finite. So it relegated to me, I can't be rich and successful, powerful, because then I'll be threatened. It's a threat. Somebody will come and kill me. Then I looked at it and I said, well, ego can't tell the difference between me and anybody else. So if there's somebody else is rich and successful, I'm a threat to them. And I looked at this whole thing and I thought, wait a minute, you just made all of that up. There's no validity to any of that. Are you serious? Come on. And then all the feelings that came up as a result of that, I was able to let go. I said, well, as crazy as it is, it did serve me because I was able to let go of a lot of stuff, of non-loving feelings, get rid of them and get at peace again and be happy. So, but exactly, Lynn, you just nailed it.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Rafi. I love that. Because, yeah, I mean, all we have to do is start looking, questioning the reality of what it is that we're seeing, questioning the reality of what we think we are. And that's what this course is made, is to shake us up and to tell us you're not who you think you are. You're not what you think you are. And you can't even think of what you really are. You can't even imagine what you really are. I can't imagine what I really am because the only thing that can imagine is the ego. The reality of myself doesn't have to imagine, it knows what it is. And that's all I want to do is remember that.
Every thought is a limitation.
That's right. Every thought is a limitation. Exactly. So this is why, you can meditate and go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And, it's just amazing how filled the mind is with concepts. And, until you shake out every single one of them and recognize they're not true, you're a slave. You're a slave to this thought system that is holding you back, basically keeping us from moving forward or moving into reality. And why is that? Why? Is the ego some evil thing that just wants to really, hurt us, or is it just its job? And, we don't, I want to fire it. I don't want to do, I don't want to live under the thumb of concepts anymore. Dub, did you have something you wanted to say?
I mean, the ego is just that part of ourself that really likes being who I am. I mean, it's a concept. Now, the reason I was raising my hand is all of this reminds me of Teddy Poppy. He says we are the test crash dummy that we send into the matrix. Basically, this is the matrix. Who are you going to send into the matrix to learn lessons? Christ doesn't need to learn any lessons.
Yeah, I've been thinking about Teddy a lot too lately. So it's as much as people would think that I was not loving Teddy. Man, he was my teacher. He was a therapist for me. Because he didn't pity pat around. He just flat out said what he thought, whether it was nice or right or not. And I had to learn to really look at myself and say, is this real? Is this true? After a while, I began to realize that I was the only one who could stand for myself. And then I stopped being afraid and started, just laughing at the things that he would say to me, because I realized, it was just he was just trying to shake me loose. And and he did a good job there. I don't know if anybody, if I hadn't had somebody who was really challenging me like that. There's another guy that challenged me a lot too, and he's that friend of mine that I told you is in Thailand. But I haven't spoken with him since December, so we'll see if if that conversation gets turned back on eventually. But you know, it- you have to be in a situation where you're being um, challenged to think or to look, and otherwise you will just go on dreaming. So this is what this is. He's Jesus is explaining to us how it is how it is the ego thinks, and how it is the ego has made up the world, and what the world is according to the ego. So, I mean, he says, uh, what he does not realize and needs to learn is that this self, which can attack and be attacked as well, is a concept he made up. That's what Duff was just pointing out. Further, he cherishes it and defends it, and is sometimes even willing to sacrifice his life on its behalf, uh, because he regards it as himself. You think that it's what you are, and you will die on that hill if you let yourself, if you want to. But that's not what we are. And that's the whole point of the psychotherapy, is to bring us to what we are. So how about I read paragraph 4? Paragraph 4. Psychotherapy then must restore to his awareness the ability to make his own decisions. Again, this was my big epiphany, was when I got to the lesson that said, I have a kingdom I must rule. And I realized that that's my mind, and that I do rule my mind, and I can rule my mind, and my mind isn't in charge of me. And it isn't, all these concepts and stories have nothing to do with what I am. That's a big deal for me. It'd be a big deal for anybody, I think, to come to the awareness that you are the one who are making the decisions. So that's what psychotherapy, must restore to his awareness the ability to make his own decisions. He must become willing to reverse his thinking and understand that what he thought projected its effects on him were made by his projections on the world. What I thought was being projected on me was really me projecting on the world. The world he sees does therefore not exist. Until this is at least in part accepted, the patient cannot see himself as really capable of making decisions, and he will fight against his freedom because he thinks that it is slavery. I mean, absolutely true. We think so backwards when we're thinking with the ego. And so, it's so easy to just be the victim. It's so easy to be the one that things are done to, and not recognize, because if I admit that I'm the one who's actually doing it, I'm at cause. My thinking is that cause, and this is the effect that I'm getting from it. I'm thinking that everybody else is doing something to me, or that my parents did something, or my mom did something, or genetics did something, or my star sign did something, or the environment did something, or the school did something. I just go through my life being the victim until I come to the point where I recognize I'm in charge, and accept that I am capable of making decisions. But that also takes a responsibility, and that's why he says, and he will fight against his freedom because he thinks it is slavery. When you take the responsibility and say, I did this, I'm doing this, then you are free. But the ego is going to constantly try to convince you that you're helpless. And that if you did start making your own choices, you would be really screwed. That you have to take advice from this thing that has all the cards. And the fact is, that's the opposite. It's just so crazy how we fall into that, but that's the way it's made. Anybody have any thoughts about this paragraph or these thoughts? This is a huge challenge. And it really is just a challenge of letting myself listen to the real advisor, the Holy Spirit, and not listen to the ego about what is or what should be done or what has been done. So anybody have any thoughts about this? I don't know if anybody's putting their hand up and I'm just not seeing it, but then let's just move on to the next paragraph and see what else Jesus has to say to us. And this is the end of this section, so this would be great. Who would like to read paragraph 5?
I'll read it.
Thank you, sweetheart.
The patient need not think of truth as God in order to make progress in salvation, but he must begin to separate truth from illusion. Hello. Recognizing that they are not the same and becoming increasingly willing to see illusions as false and to accept the truth as true. His teacher will take him on from there, as far as he is ready to go. Yep. Psychotherapy can only save him time. The Holy Spirit uses time as he thinks best, and he is never wrong. Psychotherapy under his direction is one of the means he uses to save time and to prepare additional teachers for his work. There is no end to the help that he begins and he directs. But whatever routes he chooses, all psychotherapy leads to God in the end, as does everything. But that is up to him. We are all his psychotherapists, for he would have us all be healed in him.
Anybody have any thoughts about this?
I think it says it all quite clearly.
Yeah, and it says that we are all his psychotherapists. I didn't see that before. So yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, I think it's the desire for truth. I put it another way. It's desire for truth is the same thing as desire for God, which is another way of saying desire to remember our oneness instead of our two-ness. You do have to have that desire, though.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's so helpful to know that, this also, he's also given us an idea, psychotherapy can only save time. It's here to save time. So, the Holy Spirit uses time as he thinks best, and he is never wrong. So that's how he gives us this ability or this desire to see the truth, to become aware of what's really happening. And and by doing that, we also save time. We psychotherapy under his direction is one of the means he uses to save time and to prepare additional teachers for his work. And, you know, that's us. That's what we're doing here. You know, the time has come for the student, the people who have been, you know, studying and meditating and doing the lessons and, you know, all these years, you know, now it's time for us to get out there and to be the teachers of God that he's asking us to be. That doesn't mean that you have to go out and start talking about the course to people. It means that you become for yourself and for those around you, your brothers and people that you come in contact with, you become that open channel that is aware and open for any opportunity to connect with the Holy Spirit in another. That could be anybody, anytime. Someone sitting on the park bench next to you, or the bus stop next to you, or someone you know, just meet in chance encounter at the grocery store, or whatever, you know, wherever you may come into people, you know, maybe really close friends that you have a lot of you know, good relationships with, and enjoy their company and they enjoy yours. You know, just because they're not Course in Miracles students doesn't mean that you are not their teacher and their therapist. And in fact, you are their teacher and their therapist because they were sent to you. That's why they're here. They're not here by some chance coincidence. You know, just like you and I didn't decide to start doing this course by any chance coincidence. You know, this thing came to me, it came to you, it came to us. And now we have become the ones that are here to heal the world. Now that's a commit that you may not recognize you made that commitment. You might not remember having done that, but you did. So I don't have much more to say about that. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to share? Go ahead, Laura.
Yeah, I was thinking that we need to be each other's psychotherapists in this work, even because I believe that the ego is an addiction of sorts. You're used to it, you're addicted to it. Now you're being asked to, you know, let that go, which is, you know, we know as course people that that's a good thing, but for others it's difficult. And I wonder if some of us go through stuff so that we can help other people go through this process. So that's the good news. It's helping all of us. Every, you know, all the spiritual growth that we go through is helping the one, the sonship, all of us, to raise that vibration, to have more light in the world. And well, I'm claiming that anyway. So thank you.
Yeah, I recognize that too with you, Laura. And you know, that's all, you know, all we want more light and less heat. You know, let's let us be the light that we are. And so uh yeah, I mean that's what we're here for. So whatever thing that may be, it could be, yes, you know, I mean, I have a lot of people, I'm sure everyone has, you know, folks who will call them up when they're having difficulty, or they, you know, need somebody to just, you know, talk to. And you know, I'm a lucky person because I really like to listen to people. I really like to listen to people. I've always liked to listen to people. You could tell me all your stories and I'll just sit here and listen to them, soak them up, you know. But, you know, now I don't sit there and believe them and, you know, get into, you know, you poor thing. You know, I really now, you know, I think I can be really truly helpful with people when they have difficulty. And especially, of Course in Miracles, you know, I have people who will just call me up and say, I need a Course in Miracles person to talk to about this because, you know, I don't know how to see this. And, you know, you can really help a person see things in a different way. And I do that too. You know, if I'm having difficulty, I won't hesitate to give, you know, someone a call and say, help me to see this a different way. And even if they've never thought about it, even if you've never thought about the situation, even if you've never had any experience with the situation, the fact that you're joining with another person to to uh to come up with, or to even calm or help them, soothe them, be empathetic to them, whatever, that helps me. That's a lot of the healing that I've had has come from helping someone else when they're having problems. It works that way. And then what can I say? Thank you for having a problem. Thank you for calling me. There's, Marshall Rosenberg talks about that too in the nonviolent communication. It's such a gift. I uh there's a song I can't remember. Uh uh I've never felt so given to uh than when I give to you. Basically, he's grateful. He's saying be thankful and grateful that people come to you with their problems, because it gives you a chance to give of yourself. And giving of yourself, you actually, you become more center. You experience yourself in a different light when that happens. So bring it on. If you got a problem, call me. you know Be like Vanilla Ice. Oh, I don't know if you know that song. Anyway, does anybody else have anything they'd like to share? Ozzy knows that song. It's yeah, but I won't drop a beat here. Try I'm no rapper. Um anyway, anybody else have anything about this they'd like to share? Rafi.
One little quick thing about what you just said about helping other people. I frequently get calls from people asking for help. Either it's metaphysical help or it's theatrical help, because I'm in this business. Somebody wants help with acting, with an audition, with a thing, or somebody has either a physical problem, a relationship problem, or a financial problem, and they're really just stressed out about it. And for some reason, they call me, and that's not an accident. And when I help them, how can I not help me, since we are one? But and it's happening more and more. Over the last 2 or 3 months, I've seen that rate increase. And I didn't do anything, but all of a sudden somebody calls and says, can we have lunch? I want to talk to you about something. Well, have you got a few minutes? Yeah, sure, I'd be glad to. And it's exactly what you said, Lynn. So yeah, the opportunity to help others is the opportunity to help ourselves. Again, no difference.
Yep. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I love that, Rafi. And I've even had I've had wrong number. People call me with the wrong number, and they aren't even calling me at all. But we end up in a conversation, and I've helped people out. And it's like, afterwards I'll be like, did that just happen? Was did somebody just call me by an accident thinking I was somebody else? And we had this whole conversation, and now you know, they went from, practical suicide to, being at peace. It's crazy, but it happens, and I'm not special. It does not, these things happen to everyone at some level. And we're all given that opportunity. Uh, so, um, so yeah, so this is it. It's psychotherapy under the direction of the Holy Spirit, and just being there, listening for the Holy Spirit, and allowing the Holy Spirit to tell you what to do. So we have about 15 more minutes, and that's the end of this section. So let's turn to the process of psychotherapy. And let's go ahead and read paragraph 1. Anybody want to read paragraph 1?
I can.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dub.
All right. Psychotherapy is a process that changes the view of the self. At best, this new self is a more beneficent self. Maybe that's why everyone's coming asking you for help, Rafi. But psychotherapy can hardly be expected to establish reality. Yeah, so I see that psychotherapy, I think in order to know truth, you have to empty yourself of the untruth. So I think that's where psychotherapy kind of helps, is it shows you that you've been going in the wrong direction. And in order to know truth, you gotta stop going in that direction. In other words, you gotta unload everything you learned and say there must be another way, and you start heading back home, which is 180 degrees in the opposite direction. It's not that others are doing something to me, I'm doing it to myself. I mean, projection makes perception, which is the first 3 words in chapter 21. To me, that's the way you start this new self. I'm looking at what is in my own mind projected out on a screen, which he calls right here illusion. So I'm doing this to myself, is I'm projecting my mistaken thoughts out onto the screen. This is not its function. It can make way for reality. It has achieved its ultimate. If it can make way for reality, it has achieved its ultimate success. Its whole function in the end is to help the patient deal with one fundamental error. This is interesting. One fundamental error: the belief that anger brings him something he really wants, and that by justifying attack, he is protecting himself. So yeah, projection makes perception. If I defend myself, I'm attacking myself. That's lesson 135. And Ken Wapnick always called lesson 135, if I defend, I attack. He always called it the atonement lesson, because that's exactly what it says here. The only reason why anyone gets angry, the only reason why anyone gets angry is he wants the other person to feel guilty for having done something wrong. But I'm doing that to myself. I'm keeping the guilt over here. It's the guiltless, sinless son that is God's son. If you attack a brother, you cannot enter into God's presence because you have attacked one of his sons. And as soon as I get angry, I'm attacking my brother, not because he did anything, because what he did not do, I asked him to take this role from chapter 29, section 4, dream roles, so that I can attend this class and learn who I truly am. Because until I learn the lesson that I came here for, I still think that I'm dumb. I'm a concept. And then he tells you in chapter 31, salvation could be said to be an escape from all concepts. So I'm defending a concept, I'm attacking another concept, and I think I'm doing something, and I'm actually doing nothing, but just wasting time, spending, as I like to say, spending a lifetime on death row in solitary confinement. to whatever extent he comes to realize that this is an error, to that extent is he truly saved. That's it.
Man, this is crazy. I mean, uh, that he says the belief that anger brings you something that you really want, and that by justifying attack, you're protecting yourself. He's saying that is the fundamental error. That's the whole error of everything.
Yeah.
It has to do with attack and defense.
And all it does is make more guilt, 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 guilt. The whole course is about remembering that you are guiltless, sinless, but we just come into a world and we produce more guilt.
And because we believe that anger is justified. We just heard Ken saying that right before we came on to this call. We were listening to recording of Ken Wapnick, and he was saying exactly that. He was saying the course doesn't say you should never get angry. The course says anger is never justified. And then you go ahead and get angry. You're going to be angry. You must be angry, or else we wouldn't. I must be angry, or else I wouldn't be believing in this world. Or that's the fundamental error. Then I wouldn't be believing. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't pissed off. If I wasn't angry. And that uh, and the belief that anger brings something that I really want. So, Ken was saying, don't feel guilty because you get angry. Don't not get angry because you can't, even if you try not to get angry, even that trying is a result of anger, the whole thing. So, it's coming to the point where um everything here is for my own best interest, and there's nothing to be angry about. There's nothing to resist. There's nothing to want to change, and there's nothing to attack, because I'm not being attacked. I find that very interesting, kind of provocative thinking here now, because now I'm going to be looking at anger.
Yeah.
And not just the anger of, oh, you did this wrong and but all the anger, I'm angry because, I have to, get up in the morning. I'm angry because I'm hungry. I'm angry because I have to go to the bathroom. Those are little things. Go ahead, Dove.
Yeah. I mean, notice that Ken Wapnick's favorite lesson is lesson 5, which is I'm never upset. You can use the word angry. I'm never angry for the reason I think. I'm never upset for the reason I think. I just want to mention this. It's kind of interesting in a way. I train my mind not to be angry at people because I realize I'm just producing more guilt. I mean, I realize that already. I notice when I get angry, it happened 2 or 3 times today, my phone calls trying to save $5 or $10. You're spending most of your time talking to a robot, an automatic answering machine, talking to you, said, please answer one of these questions so I can send you to the right person. I mean, but they never ask you the question that will send me that answers my needs. They always say, answer this or that. And if you don't answer this or that, they say, well, I have to hang up. I get so upset, and that's when I get angry. I'm angry at artificial intelligence.
Oh, that's hilarious. Because that's a victimist crime there. AI.
That's probably going to show you what this world is heading towards. Can you imagine humans being angry at artificial intelligence?
Oh yeah. Well, think about it. Whenever you call up to anybody, any place that you have a problem, you need to talk to a person. When you actually do get to a person, it's like a whole bank of people on phones. You can hear them all talking in the background, and the person who's answering your question may or may not, I mean, it's probably not even you know, English is their first language, although, you know, I haven't had problems with that. But, you know, there are people that are just there to field your anger. And I think about, you know, what that has to do to a person in their life that, you know, every day, you know, their whole job is to be confronted with people who are upset about, you know, their money or their product or their service or, you know, something or wanting, you know, I mean, really honestly, um, for us to be dealing with people like that and you know, I mean, AI, you know, it's probably better for us to be mad at AI, but it's still the same thing. It's
Same
still the
thing.
same, but it's the same thing. Yeah, exactly. Rafi, please go ahead.
Well, when I examined anger, it came down to an ego concept, a belief, or program that was threatened. The basic one is I'm a body and it's been threatened, or a financial thing, or a health thing, or a relationship, something has been threatened. The other day, I was standing, waiting to cross the street, and I was waiting for the light to change. The light changed, but some guy came over on the right hand side, close to the curb, because he wanted to make a right hand, and he ran right through it, and he almost hit me. And I said, Dave, and I started to yell at him, and I thought, you know, first of all, he's not going to hear what's the point. But that anger came up, and I thought, there it is. It's always based in an ego fear that some program or some belief has been threatened. And how is getting angry at them going to settle that? You got to go inside and find the fear of what that belief is. You'll find the belief and dissolve it and get rid of it. When I saw that, I thought, okay, so they say in the release technique, anger is a hanger. It hangs you up, and it can hang you up for decades. I know people who are angry about stuff that happened to them, you know, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And my whole thing is, you know, I don't want to, you know, criticize him, but what's the point? Who are you hurting by being angry? Only yourself. Everything goes back to yourself anyway. It all starts in your mind. So, having learned that lesson makes it a whole lot easier to deal with that subject of anger. And since it's all based in some ego fear anyway, we go right back to square one. And I'm not that ego.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. You know, it's all got to take you right back to that same place.
What I want to say is all we're doing is manufacturing guilt in our own mind. No matter what you do to another person, other than extending peace, light, and love, you're manufacturing, you're making more guilt. We're putting guilt on top of guilt, not over there, over here.
Yeah.
That is why the Course says anger is never justified. The key word is never. And then and Ken always says, that doesn't mean I'm telling you not to be angry. It's okay, but it's never justified.
And that's what we have to remember is justification, you know,
It's
when you look at it, there's no justification for any of it.
You're beating yourself up. You're absolutely you're beating yourself up. That's all that's going on.
Yep. All right, you guys. Well, it looks like our time is up. Thank you all for being here. Been a very nice going through the psychotherapy, and I'm excited about it. And I will see you guys next week. Yes. And thank you, Elizabeth. And also thank you for sending me that thing of Herb Fitch. I really appreciate that very much.
It
All
was
right.
a session, by the way, everybody. It was a really good session.
Absolutely. All right, you guys. I love you all. Good night.
Okay, good night.
And W, did you? I guess you know Suzanne won't
Oh,
be
by
here
the way,
tomorrow.
Susan's not going to be here tomorrow morning.
Right.
Right. So